I'd like to introduce Mark from Primal Organix. He's in the health and wellness space. His company's been doing some R&D for quite a number of years. He was doing R&D for quite a number of years before he started using the RDTI scheme that the federal government offers.
Yeah, that's correct. Thanks, Scott, and hi everybody. Yeah, look, my business partner, Mr. Frank Gimperi's been in the R&D space for probably a decade, and it wasn't until about 6 years ago when we actually sat down with Scott and actually understood over a cup of coffee that we could be, getting rewarded financially in regards to, showing the ATO and various departments what we're doing in terms of our research and development. And, at the time, I thought it was quite funny when Scott was telling me this, because I'm like, I kind of just brushed it aside and, and then he kept sort of saying, hey, you need to take a look at this. And everyone's so busy. We're busy, we're time poor, we're trying to, build our companies, raise revenue, all that kind of stuff. But, Scott really said to me, just take a look at this. And when I did, I thought, well, if this is true, because the first thing is I didn't believe it, right? So, the first thing is, well, is this true? And then when I understood the process and then that Scott would take care of the process, then I went, wow, this is really interesting. So I said, you know what? We've got nothing to lose. And we went down the process the first time 5 years ago. And it wasn't a big claim. We got maybe 30,000, whatever it may have been. But it really became real when that money hit your bank account.
It's funny that you say that, because skepticism is something that I encounter quite a bit. And people think, oh, maybe it's too good to be true. But it is an Australian government program. The trick is just trying to access it and be conforming to all the legislation. Making sure, and you can probably answer this, keeping good records and being able to then know what are we actually trying to do and where does it fit.
Yeah. And, and we've gone on, and when I think we've done, 5 claims now, and we really just become really compliant around it. To me, it's all about compliance, and Scott, we've known each other for probably more than 10, 12 years, and that I used to run a registered training organisation providing nationally accredited certificates in business, management, and sales. And part of being a CEO of a registered training organisation, the Australian government, is it's all about compliance. And what I found with R&D, to me, it's better to bring in an expert, like Scott and the team there, so that they can help you set up to be compliant. And it's really important because there's compliancy around, obviously your tax affairs in terms of having all that in place, and then also being compliant around the note taking. We have, Frank and I, my business partner, we have weekly meetings where we're discussing R&D weekly. We're documenting it, we're recording it, and then we're implementing, or more so Frank is implementing, what we're discussing, and then seeing, did that work? How did that go? Is that something that, could be a sellable item? Is that okay? Is that not okay? And really, for us, it's around compliance, but it allows, the technician in the business, who's really Frank, who is the technician behind all these wonderful products, to, experiment and create and also fail, on different products and variations to our product range, to bring a market to product, and know that Scott and the team will then help us ascertain how we lodge all those documents through the process to then be able to sign off and access that R&D funding through the ATO.
Well, it's interesting you raised 2 things in there. Compliance, we love always compliance, but a lot of businesses don't realize that while they've had a failure in their business of they're trying to do something they didn't know how to do, they've not got it right, but they've got good notes on it. If they've got good notes on the fail, the RDTI program can really help out in a fail with good notes, and obviously keeping track of what materials were used and the other part of the tax discussion.
100%. I mean, we've, Frank has created, a lot of products, maybe 100 over the past, few years, and only maybe 18 have got to market. And, it's in that research where you're developing and you're analysing, you're seeing whether it works, whether it doesn't. But that's the great thing of R&D. That's where the Australian government wants manufacturers in all aspects, not just in health and well-being like we are, but across the board to really try and create innovative solutions to problems in the market. And by doing that, if you are compliant and you've got a great team like Scott and the team behind him, you can really be rewarded for work that you're doing that products you may not take to the market. As I said, Frank, he's done 100 new products. We're already working on our new products for this financial year, the 23-24 financial year, because a lot of them, they didn't get to market. But that's okay. That's R&D, research and development.
And then it's making sure we're doing what we need to do, you're doing what you need to do, and then it works in a really quite a synergistic way. But it's also getting to know, well, what does the legislation want? What does the government want? Or what's the focus this year? How's it changing with your company? Keeping up to date with what you're doing. So
yeah, and that's where Scott and the team works really well, because we don't have to worry about what are the new updates, what's obsolete. What we need to do is concentrate on what we're good at, and we're good at creating products. And whether those products are successful or not successful, that's irrelevant, as Scott has mentioned. But what Scott and the team are good at are telling us that the landscape has changed, that this is now no longer the way that you have to do it. You have to do it this way because legislation changes. And you as a company owner do not have to worry about that. So Scott and the team take out that headache, and that is, really important. And I see, when we spoke to Scott a couple of weeks ago, he's an extension of our business. That's as simple as that, right? And if you're not using Scott and his team as an extension of your R&D business, you could be missing out on tens of thousands of dollars, even hundreds of thousands of dollars,
It's a journey, and you can't do it. Look, how long did it take us? 8-10 weeks to still get it all done? Once you know the ins and outs, you go, okay, all right, that's worthwhile, chasing and getting it done.